We're here today for a status hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom. We are apparently live streaming, and Mrs. Gelman is making our record today. Okay, we'll go ahead and take everybody's announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Haven Doucette is my primacy specialist. We are present ready.
Jeff Hill filling in for Brooks Barfield, who represents Misty Schechter. I see she's here, Judge. We're ready.
Vince Noack representing Jacob Craddock. We're both here and ready, Judge.
Stacey Zabala on behalf of Carter.
Okay, then Ms. Doucette, I guess we'll look to you for an update.
Since the court report was filed, both parents have signed their family plans and have started engaging in services. Misty has completed a few of her parenting classes and her domestic violence classes, and Jacob has started his individual counseling and scheduled for his other services to be started. And Carter's doing well in his placement. He's up to date on all his medical appointments, and he's doing well where he's placed.
Okay, anything else?
They're having virtual visits right now with both mom and dad, and those are going very well also.
Ms. Doucette, are we asking for any, have drug screens been happening? Are we asking for any drug screens today?
In the sibling case, they were ordered to drug screen. Misty went the day that it was ordered. Jacob did not. I called to confirm, and Care Express said that he did not show up, so we're asking for him to be drug screened today.
Okay, are you asking for a hair follicle and UA?
Yes.
Judge, we would make that request that Dad be ordered to hair follicle and UA today.
Okay, so Mr. Craddock, I am going to order you to go drug screen for us today before 4 p.m. Hair and UA. Do you know where to go?
Jacob, you took your video off. The judge asked you if you know where to go to drug screen today. If you could at least unmute and tell her yes you do or no you do not, that would be helpful. You can talk.
Sorry, I had a phone call come in. But no, I'll be down there today.
Okay.
Part of my interruption, Judge.
No problem.
And Judge, for the court, family plans of service were signed and filed in this case. Parents signed them on June 29th and June 21st, and they were filed on July 2nd.
All right, then, Mr. Hill.
Judge, I wasn't given any information from Brooks. I got a very little bit from his secretary indicating that they believe things were going well and that Ms. Schechter was intending to work services. So unless she's got something she'd like to add, I unfortunately don't have anything.
Okay, Ms. Schechter, any questions or anything you need to talk about today?
No, not that I can think of at the moment. I believe Haven's up to date on all the doctor's appointments and everything that I've got going on. And she's a very good support in this system. She's great.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Nowak.
Thank you, Judge. Haven, other than that one missed drug test, is it fair to say that Jacob is cooperative and he's on track for the family plan of service?
Yes, sir, he is.
Thank you for always taking my phone calls and being attentive. And Judge, that's all I have. Thank you, Haven.
All right, and Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, Carter seems to be doing really great. He can show me some really cool bicycle moves, but he's doing good. I don't know if we still have a backlog of CASAs, but of course I'd love for all my kiddos to have CASAs if available. But there may still be a waiting list. If there's not, I'd love to request one for him.
We'll check with CASA and see what we can do. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we lost Dad. But he hasn't logged back in. So, okay, then for today, I will find there's a continuing danger to return the child home, but sounds like we're headed in the right direction. Parents are in compliance with the service plans, it sounds like, and, hang on, he's coming back in. Okay, we've got him back now. As I said earlier, we'll order Mr. Craddock to drug test today, hair and UA. We'll continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the child's current placement. I will order the service plans as an order of the court. So for the parents, what that means is, those things are now a court order, and I expect you to abide by that. And failure to work your services can result in the child not coming home. In worst case scenario, it can result in termination of parental rights. So nobody wants to go down that road. We want y'all to succeed. We want this to have a good ending. So take the service plan seriously, and stay in touch with your attorney, stay in touch with your caseworker, and you can be successful in this. All right, then, we will get in touch with CASA and see if we could get an advocate assigned to the case, and we'll let everybody know about that. Okay, I will see you all back for our next hearing on November 5th of 2024. That'll be on a 9:00 docket.
Thank you, Judge.
Hello? I hear you.
Okay, very good, sir. We've got some people talking in a breakout room. We'll get started as soon as we get them back.
Jacob, it's good to see you, and I'm going to go based on our conversation yesterday, what we talked about.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
It is, and it's just photographs of my client's residence is what it is,
Okay.
without describing the photographs. That's
okay.
all it is.
Let me just see if we can, I'm going to see if
I
we
was-
can get
I think
into
I-
them.
I think I was gonna have the same question, Brooks. I got 2 emails, and one of them I couldn't open because it wanted me to sign in and stuff, but the other one was just photographs.
That's all it is. It's
Okay.
just because up to this point, since she's out in California,
Yeah.
the reason I thought we'd do that is she's out in California. So I don't know that any worker's been in her home or anything like that. So I just had her go around the home, take pictures of the home so the court and everybody else involved here would have some idea what this place looks like.
Okay, and I think Miss Katie finally has gotten them to me in a form where I can open them. So, okay.
Yeah, and if you're asking me the form how it was sent, I had literally nothing to do with how those were sent. Except saying, send them.
I've looked at them. I did not print because ink costs so much money now.
It does.
I talked to Brooks last night. I'm not going to have any objection to his exhibit.
We are here today on an initial permanency hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming, and I am recording to the Zoom cloud this morning. I don't have a reporter. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Hayden Doucette is my permanency specialist. We're present ready.
Brooks Barfield for mom, Misty Schechter. I am present and ready. She is present as well.
Vince Nowak, on behalf of Jacob Craddock, the father. Judge, we are both here and we're both ready.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Carter.
Melissa Limas with CASA along with Brittany Davis.
All right, thank y'all. Okay, let's get an update on how we're coming along on our services.
Mom has completed her services. She's still living in California. Jacob has completed his psychosocial assessment, and then he was incarcerated. He has now been moved to Garza County Jail. We're now having visits at the CASA office. Those are going very well with Carter and Mom. They're weekly on Tuesdays, and they're being very bonded and building relationship. We have received a letter about the ICPC, and it stated that Missy will need to provide her criminal history and any history she has with the department in California to us, as we are not able to receive that from them.
Oh, you guys didn't do that.
Okay, say that, Ms. Doucette, say that last thing again about her criminal history.
For the ICPC, we received a letter from the state of California stating that Ms. Schechter will need to provide us with her criminal history and any of her history with the department in California, as we're not able to receive that.
Okay, well, you're saying we can't receive it, meaning we can't get that we don't have access to that information.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay.
And Judge, I haven't seen the letter. They just explained it to me. It's my understanding that California state they can't complete the ICPC until they get that information, is my understanding.
Can you guys see and hear me? I'm sorry, my lawyer isn't aware that I'm on here.
Yeah, he is aware, and we can see you and hear you. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, he knows you're present. Okay, so you understand, Ms. Schechter, what you need to gather together for them?
Yes, ma'am, I am aware.
Okay. I don't know how California goes about that, but as far as you getting a copy of that, but usually you could go to probably the county sheriff or somebody like that, and they could pull it.
Yes, ma'am. If there's any way that we can get in writing that you guys are needing the CPS records, that way I can present it to the state of California and it's easier for me to get the records from them. As long as it's in writing, they won't fight it. It's very hard to get records from the state of California when it comes to CPS.
Ms. Kirksey, is it something we could put together to get to her?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, very good.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so the faster we can do all of that, the faster they have what they need, and we can be hopefully getting a decision. All right then, anything else, Ms. Doucette?
No, ma'am.
Okay. The child's doing well otherwise?
Yes, he's doing well in placement. There have been some struggles in school as he's a little far behind, but he's been working with his teacher and they've sent home flashcards to go over his letters and numbers, and they do it in different places so he can start learning them. And then there's been some problems with discipline and behaviors, but he's working with a behavioral therapist and they're working to build a bond with each other and get some more coping skills and tools for him to use when he's acting out.
Okay, but you said visits with mom are going well.
Yes, they're going very well.
Okay. All right then, Mr. Barfield, anything to add today?
No, Your Honor. My main questions were concerning, I read the CASA report and my main concerns were the education. I read in the report that there was some concern that Carter might be dyslexic, and I guess I guess my questions were answered in that regard, that they're taking care of that. As far as mom goes, I mean, I'm be honest with you. I mean, I want to ask for the kid to be returned today. I understand we have the ICPC problems at this particular point, because quite frankly, I think my client's done everything she can do in this case and is cooperating fully. So I'm at the point now, as soon as procedurally we're done, I'm requesting the child be returned back to my client at this point. So I guess that's all I have for now.
Okay. All right, and Mr. Nowak?
Thank you so much, Judge. Ms. Doucette, I think you testified that Jacob Craddock, the father, has completed his psychosocial assessment, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he's currently incarcerated in Garza County?
Yes, sir.
Have you provided him with whatever information, whatever packet you can to him so he can do whatever he can do while incarcerated?
I have not provided. I sent to Potter County Jail before he was moved to Garza, so I'll resend it to the Garza for him to have.
And you'll do that today, correct?
Yes.
And who is current placement?
Christina Talent.
And what is her relationship to the child?
She is the child's ex-stepmother.
And what's the status there? Is she happy keeping the kid? Keeping the child. I'm sorry, keeping the child.
At the time period, yes.
Okay. Judge, that's all I have. Thank you so much, Ms. Doucette.
Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, I've gotten to visit with Carter again. He has spent a few days in respite with someone else, and I went and visited with him over there. In general, he's doing well. He is behind in school and things like that. But I had also read all the reports about the visits going well with mom. I'd spoken with mom. I liked that she was able to come here in person. Carter was very clear that he enjoyed that in-person visit. He was very clear and immediate that he would love to have more in-person visits with mom, but he was just as clear and immediate with his answer about he didn't even want to go to California for a visit. Now, he didn't really expand on that. And I think we just need to work through that. But that's kind of where I'm working. I think mom's working hard. And those in-person visits are important to Carter, and I think they have gone well. But I don't know if the issue with California has to do with the other people in the home. I don't know. I couldn't really get more information. But it was a very clear and adamant, I don't want to go to California.
All right, he's in therapy, right? Is he in with a therapist?
I believe he's supposed to be. I didn't know if he was actually getting to go. I know there was some scheduling stuff.
He's seeing a behavioral therapist who comes to the home.
That's through, sorry, Your Honor, that is through Arrow. He's not seeing like an LPC or a play therapist.
Okay, I want to get him in with, an LPC and see if they can't kind of explore that. And, that may take some time, but see if we can't get him to elaborate on why he has this strong opinion about going to California.
Okay, what about, has anybody thought about any type of family therapy with mom and Carter at this point? Because Carter's what, 6?
He's 6. So I think that the visits are probably, the most important thing right now, but
Sure.
I would like to get him started with an LPC to at least try to build a rapport with him and maybe get a sense of what his concern is about California. And then I would have no problem with joining mom in that loop about, making him at ease about that, if that can be achieved. I have no idea at this point why he's averse to that.
Can we ask for more visits? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's all right. I'm sorry.
Is there any way that we can ask for maybe two visits a week instead of one a week?
I have no problem with that at all. You've completed your services. So, Ms. Doucette, if we can get it set up where they can have virtual visits twice a week.
Yes, ma'am.
But I do want to get an LPC into this mix quickly.
I'd just like to have a phone call. I mean, I haven't got to have a visit in several months now, and I dang sure don't want him seeing me like this, but I mean, I think I deserve at least a phone call every now and then.
I don't know whether the jail permits you to have a phone call with a child.
Well, that's something we could look into. I'd appreciate it.
I'm personally not, I don't have a problem with a phone call, but most jails don't permit that. So I just don't know what the jail there does. Mr. Novak, I guess you can explore that with Mr. Craddock.
I'll follow up on that, Judge.
If they will permit it. I don't have a problem with the supervised phone call. I just think everybody needs to be kind of clear about what's up for discussion and what's not.
Yes, Judge.
With him. So does the child know that Mr. Craddock is in jail?
Yes, ma'am. He knows. I should be released by March. I have the ISF, 90 days of ISF that I have to go complete. I'm just waiting on my lawyer to bring me the paperwork for my revocation hearing to sign so I can catch a train to go to ISF. But the estimated time of my release is around the end of February, middle of March.
Okay.
I was hoping that Mr. Novak could get a hold of my lawyer, William Clint Barkley, and kind of get an idea and everybody get on the same page with what's going on there. So that was my next deal. I was going to try to bring up to Novak before we got off here today, was just to try to get with him and figure out when I'm getting out. That way I can continue to do my services from there.
Candidly, your criminal attorney may not even know the answer to that. It's a question of waiting and when they've got a spot for you, and you could be kind of ready to go at any point in time, but it's a question of having a spot. So I'm just telling you, I don't know that your criminal attorney would even know the answer to that, but, you know, I certainly don't have a problem if Mr. Novak wants to speak with that individual, so.
Jacob, I left a message with that lawyer yesterday, and I'll follow up with you the minute I hear back.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
I have one concern if we could voice that over the court hearing.
Sure. What is your concern?
So Carter has expressed to me on multiple occasions that his uncle, which is Christina Talent's brother, takes him off-roading in this. I don't know what it is, but he has expressed to me that they have flipped the vehicle multiple times, and which has caused me to buy Carter a helmet, goggles, and protection gear, and is being sent to Miss Doucette's office. Is there any way that we can make sure that Carter is being safely watched and is in a safe environment when this is happening?
Ms. Doucette, do you know, are you aware of this?
Misty told me last week that she had ordered him a helmet, but they had spoken about that in the visit, and I was not present at the visit.
So were y'all aware that Placement's brother or whoever this is was taking the child off-roading?
No.
Okay. So this information came from Ms. Schechter last week?
Yes, when she told me she ordered him a helmet.
Okay. Have you spoken with Placement about this?
Placement explained that they go off-roading in their Jeep, but I have seen the Jeep in the home, and it has all the doors and everything, and they're in a Jeep club that they go and do these things with.
Is it like well, okay, I mean.
That's what I was just gonna ask. It's not a Razor or a Polaris Ranger or something like that. You're talking about an actual roadworthy Jeep.
Like a vehicle Jeep that they drive, yes.
Carter expressed to me it is like it has a roll cage. It's not like an actual Jeep or a vehicle. It is a specific off-roading. If maybe we can express this in therapy, when he gets into therapy, try and get a little bit more elaboration of what kind of vehicle he's in during these. But I did order him a helmet, the goggles, and some gloves, and I do plan on getting him some pads and for his knees and his arms. If we can possibly get him to express a little bit more on what kind of vehicle he's in. I just don't feel comfortable with these vehicles flipping. I don't know if he's lying to me or just trying to express a little bit more on the story or what's going on, but I did order protective gear for these whatever excursions they're going on.
Well, generally, Ms. Schechter, children that are in the custody of the state are not permitted to engage, in what I would deem to be higher or higher risk activities. So Ms. Doucette, Placement needs to be instructed that the child is not to be placed in any kind of ATV, UTV, off-road vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if they're doing some off-roading in a street-worthy Jeep, in other words, something that you'd see just going down the street, but that is capable of going off-road.
Mm-hmm.
That child is not permitted in there if doors are off or roof is off, anything of that nature.
Yes, ma'am, I will let her know.
If they're just driving down a trail, I can probably live with that, as long as, of course, the child is properly restrained and all of that. But, when you say off-roading, that is a very broad category. And I understand families have hobbies and family have outings and things, and I don't want to be unreasonable about it, but,
sounds to me like he might be in one of those dune buggies or something like that.
Well,
I used to do off-roading all the time. Yeah.
I mean, it could be like Mr. Trout said, it might be some kind of razor or something like that that's got the cage on it, but, you know, I don't find there's any reason for, I mean, if they want to put their own 6-year-old in it, that's one thing, but I don't find there's any reason for this 6-year-old to be in those kinds of vehicles. So I don't have a problem if he is in a sport utility vehicle that's a street vehicle, as long as he's in proper car seat or restrained. But no open cockpit type arrangement. You know, I don't think we need to be putting full gear on a 6-year-old. Just, you know, I'd like to know more about what they're doing, quite frankly. So Ms. Bissett, you need to do a deep dive into what this is all about.
Yes, ma'am.
Where are they going? What kind of off-roading are they doing? What vehicle is it in? But make it clear that the kiddo is not to be put in any kind of TV, ATV, or any open cockpitted type sport utility vehicle.
And
And I own 2 myself. So it's not because I have a bug about sport, you know, UTVs. So, but I don't put other people's kids in it.
And Judge, just for everybody, what I wrote in the order is child not to be placed or ride in an ATV, UTV, or off-roading vehicle. If in a roadworthy vehicle, then all doors and safety equipment must be present for right now. Anything else you want me to add to that?
Well, doors, roof.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Ms. Schechter, I don't think it should be necessary for you to order him more gear. You know,
Okay.
or put an end to that activity.
I want him to be able to have fun. I just want him to be safe.
Everybody wants him to have fun, and I know that those things can be fun, but it's like I said, you know, it's just a different decision when you're making that decision for your own child than when you're making a decision for someone else's child. So,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Casa?
Thank you, Your Honor. We don't have too much more to add. Ms. Schechter, those visits with Ms. Schechter are going very well at our office, and we are more than happy to try to accommodate some extra time. Just get with us and we can try to coordinate that. We also have coordinated with Ms. Schechter. I've gotten the approval due to the ICPC taking a little longer to actually travel myself to California to visit her home, and I'll be visiting with herself, her husband, her in-laws. She's also coordinated for her school teacher, for his school teacher, his Sunday school teacher to be there. And I've warned her I'll have probably a lot of questions for her, and she's been very gracious to allow me to visit her home to do so. And I'll be conducting that on December 2nd. I'll be booking my flight later this week, today, hopefully. Carter's doing pretty well. We do have some concern about the longevity of his placement while we do conduct this case, and get to the point where things will start moving in whatever direction that it may be. But our main concern also does lie with Carter struggling in school. His teachers are trying his best to help with that, and we would like to see him in some formal therapy to kind of iron out some of those concerns he may have, including some of, I think he doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and he's been told possibly many things all around, and I think this will be a very safe space for him to tell his feelings on how he's feeling. But I am looking forward to visiting Ms. Schechter's home and providing a report on how that visit goes.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it.
Does mom's attorney get a free trip out to California, like SoCal, something like that, maybe?
You'll have to talk to Jared Mendoza on that one, Brooks.
Yeah, okay, I'm joining CASA, Judge.
But I may be able to squeeze you in my suitcase.
Hey, I'm not real tall, so.
Judge, and any chance for Dazzler to ask Costa a question?
Absolutely.
I don't
Brooks,
know
if
if you
you're,
and I
if
out
you're
in
going, Brooks,
California
I'm
together,
going.
Vince, is a great idea, but that's okay.
Yeah, but we talked about Northern California yesterday. Melissa,
Yes, sir.
you plan on going to California to meet with the mom, correct?
Correct.
Do you have any plans to go to Garza County to meet with dad?
I can sure try my very best to try to get a visit coordinated down there. I'm not exactly too sure where Garza is.
I think it's in Post. Is it?
Post?
About 20 miles south of Lubbock.
It's
Okay, so I can actually try to get with another supervisor of mine and coordinate. We do have a Lubbock Christmas trip coming up soon where we'll also be going down to Odessa, and I can try to see if she can make a stop to visit Jacob for me, if that will work.
I think it would be perfect since you're going, 1,500 miles to California. If you go 130 miles down to Post, Texas, and you, not another worker, not some designee, but you, will you promise me that if you visit mom, you'll also visit dad?
I will do my very best, Vince.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Judge, that's all I have.
Of course.
Okay, then for today, we will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue placement. Mr. Barfield, I did look through the photographs since everybody had indicated they didn't have any objection. So I've looked at the photographs of mom's home. Find there would be a continuing danger to return the child home today. We've still got some open-ended questions here before we're ready to make those decisions. I do want the child to be set up with an LPC ASAP. And then obviously my order regarding the child will not be in any UTV, ATV, or open cockpit vehicle of any kind. And I'll see everybody back February 25th of 2025 on a 9 o'clock docket. If something comes up before that and we need to get together before that, then y'all just let me know and we can certainly, get together earlier. Okay. All right. I appreciate everybody. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
We're here for a
Thank
review
you, Your
hearing.
Honor.
We're conducting this through
Thank
Zoom.
you.
We're live
Thank you so
streaming
much.
and Ms. Galvan's making our record. All right, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Kane Williams is my permanency specialist. We are present ready.
Dave Michelson on behalf of the mother, Nini Toon. I don't see her present.
Judge
Kendra on behalf of the child present ready.
Jeff Hill on behalf of the father, and I'm not sure how to say it, Kya Win. Judge, I'm standing in for Brooks Barfield. I've been informed that they have never had any contact with him. They don't have any contact information. So if anybody's got that, they'd be grateful to have it, but I'm ready.
Okay, and Casa is present with us today.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, all right, then what do we have new?
Nothing new since the court report. I was able to get a hold of Pew's placement this morning and they're safe from the hurricanes, but other than that, everything's going good.
All right, have we gotten any more information about mom's relatives that could potentially be support system here? I mean, there was a cousin that had recently moved here.
Yeah, she has told us that her mom and dad can be support and they're the ones taking care of the kids right now while mom is at work. And then she had a cousin who recently moved here, but she couldn't tell us his name. And then she has a niece who's 19 and she helps out with the kids every once in a while. So, I mean, there's a few people, but
Well, what's the goal right now?
we did switch it from reunification to, I think, relative fictive kin adoption a couple weeks ago, just because we're not on a solid track for reunification right now. Mom has a plan, but she wants to be able to quit her job so that she can stay home full time. And her plan is to be a caregiver through Medicaid and Medicare and get her income that way. And then she wants to build a wall between the kitchen, like to separate the kitchen so that she can kind of manage Pew's diet and needs a little better that way. So she has a plan, but it's a long-term plan, and we don't feel it's safe right now for Pew to be returned home.
And she understands that we are rapidly running out of time and.
Yes, ma'am.
How about visits between mom and child?
They are very few and far between. She had one, I think 3 weeks ago was the last one. She's usually driving or, with the kids, or she has someone else holding the phone. She's very distracted during visits. And I would say right now she's showing up to visits maybe about once a month, and she'll talk for about 20 or 30 minutes before getting off the call. They're very inconsistent, and I don't feel that they're beneficial for Pew, but she enjoys talking to her mom, so we do our best every week to get one scheduled. It's just whether or not mom shows up.
Okay. All right, Mr. Michelson, anything to add today?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Let me ask, is this a case that we think we'd benefit from mediation?
I think if there are extended family members, I know Ms. Williams said something about kind of a loose affiliation of family members, so I don't know who those parties would be in terms of possible solutions.
Judge, if I may, I think mediation would be a good idea in this case. I have several concerns regarding mom and the long-term plans for Pew.
Yeah, as do I. I mean, Mr. Hill, I know you're filling in for Mr. Barfield, but Dad doesn't really have a dog in the fight, and I understand that mediation, Mr. Barfield's not going to have any authority or really can do much about that. But this is a child that's got extensive medical needs. And, I think the real question is mom capable of meeting those needs? I mean, this is a child that right now has 24-hour-a-day supervision. And how can mom do that with other children in the home, even if she becomes a caregiver? There's got to be a plan for some backup help, respite help, but I think it's just whether or not this child's needs will ever be able to be met in that home. So let's go ahead and go to mediation. All right, Mr. Hill, anything to report?
No, ma'am. Mr. Barfield's office tells me they've never had any contact with Mr. Wynn. They don't even have any contact information.
Okay. All right, and Ms. Naranjo, anything to report?
As Ms. Williams stated, I do have concerns about mom being inconsistent with her visitation or not really participating when she does have visitation. I'm also concerned about mom's long-term goals with Pew. They're just not seeming realistic at this point. I'm hopeful we can figure something out at mediation. Otherwise, there may be a consideration to consider terminating mom's rights as the best interest for Pew.
Okay, Casa?
Thank you, Your Honor. CASA does share some of the same concerns as St. Francis and, of course, Ms. Naranjo. In observation of like some home visits that we've done together, I get the gist from Mrs. Tunn that she's more concerned about Pew's behaviors and how it would affect the other children in the home. When we were stressing the safety of Pew and Pew's needs, it was if she wasn't too worried about it. The school, that she'd be attending would provide PT, OT, etc. She was a little concerned about paying for the insulin that Pew needs. And I kept thinking to myself, we have a child that has high medical needs here. She has to be constantly supervised. She wasn't real worried about if Pew got up at night at 2 o'clock in the morning and walked out the door. She was like, oh yeah, we'll get her. And so I've just got that safety concern in the back of my mind for Pew if she was returned home. Yes, we would like to continue to work with Ms. Tunn, but at the same time, she seems as if she's already got it figured out and that we don't need to bother her with that. And we do, we need to be involved and we need to have her understand step by step what Pew needs. She's very well versed in Pew's disorder and what she is diagnosed with. She understands it, but especially when she told us too that the family support system is her mother and her father, but her mother, remind you, she had some health care problems. She is not well. And then she mentioned a cousin that moved from her country to Amarillo and she didn't know his name. So again, safety comes to mind. So CASA's, of course, recommendation is for her to remain in her placement. And yes, we'll continue to work with St. Francis and with the team in order to help Miss Time.
Okay, and if y'all haven't seen it, Ms. Smith has put in the chat some information about this caregiver situation. I do recall that, I mean, she was having nursing care and that those were reduced at one point, which is maybe kind of what escalated the situation to a removal. Does anybody have, I mean, anybody have any different recollection about that, or am I correct? That sort of was one of the things that snowballed us into this situation.
Yeah, she had the nursing hours, but with Pew's medical needs, I mean, she's not even considered PMN for us. So it was more behavioral, and Medicaid didn't approve nursing hours for behavioral needs. And that was the same thing whenever she was placed at Nexus at that specialty hospital. It got to the point where it was just behavioral needs and Medicaid wouldn't pay for it anymore. So that would be the issue, I think, with getting the nursing hours back for extra supervision. But I don't know if there's another option for just a quote unquote babysitter rather than a nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the issue with that.
I know we had spoken about previously about having someone that wasn't quite registered medically like nurse level, but the issue with that was for that type of caregiver that there weren't a lot of options here in this area for that type of caregiver because they don't get paid very much.
Okay. All right, Ms. Smith, thank you for the information. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, for today, I don't see that we can do much other than continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue replacement, find there would be a continuing danger to return the child home. I am going to order mediation in the case. We'll get an attorney assigned to mediate for you all. And I'll see you back for our final, which is September 17th of 2024. That'll be on 9 o'clock docket.
Judge, you got a date by when you want us to have it mediated?
Probably September 1st.
Okay.
You know, and maybe between now and then we can find out some more detail about, you know, what help might be available, but it may be one of those things nobody will talk to us or deal with it until the child is actually home. You know, I just don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether we can put much in play in advance or not.
Your Honor, I know that there's going to be a permanency conference coming up. I believe it's July 24th. Is what St. Francis is telling me. So I'm wondering during that PC, would it be allowed if the Superior Health Plan could attend that as well and maybe help guide us?
Ms. Smith, is that something that you could attend, or is that going to be in person, virtual?
I could attend, or it'd probably be better to have the nurse that's on her case with Superior attend, and I can ask if she would be available.
Okay. All right. That'd be great.
And Judge, if I may, I'd strongly encourage mom and her attorney to attend that PMC to hopefully we can make some progress and she can get some valuable information as well.
Yep. I think it's a good plan because, I mean, we're at that point where we're going to have to start winding down. So, okay. All right. Thank you all very much. So I'll see you back September 17th in both cases. We are conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming. And Ms. Galvan is making our record. And Ms. Galvan, I haven't thanked you today. Appreciate you stepping in for us. Okay, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Tiffany Brown's my permanency specialist. We're present ready.
Jerry Morales for mother. She's present. We're ready.
Vince Nowak on behalf of Cameron Shelton. Judge, I'm here, and if you don't see him in the waiting room, it'll just be me today.
T.D. Hammonds for Adam Refugio Aguilar Jr., the father of Egypt and Arrow. I'm ready to proceed, Judge. Mr. Aguilar is still in TDCJ.
Stacey Zabala on behalf of the girls.
Okay. Ms. Brown, I guess we'll look to you for an update.
Good morning, Your Honor. Since the court report has been filed, the open investigation on Indiana has been closed with no findings. And that is the only update that I have.
Can I ask a few questions, Your Honor?
Sure, yeah.
Ms. Brown, are you asking for any services or anything ordered today? Mom did a second OSAR, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And are you asking that mom be ordered to follow up with her recommendations, which were inpatient and outpatient services?
Yes, sir.
And is this due to positive tests that came back in April? Or there were positive tests in April?
April, May, and June.
Okay. And so you would ask that the court order mom to inpatient service as recommended under her second OSAR and to follow up with outpatient services?
Yes, sir.
Outside of that, how was mom's services?
She's completed all of her services except for the OSAR recommendation. So she's doing really well.
Okay. But we still are having positive tests.
Correct. The most recent screening, she tested positive. In addition to marijuana, she tested positive for cocaine metabolite.
And that's still a big concern in this case due to the removal.
Yes, sir.
And as far as Cameron Shelton in the Stott Shelton case, are you requesting any services or are you asking for another OSAR for him?
Yes.
And what is that due to?
We have not had a he has not started any of the recommendations from the first OSAR. He continues to test positive and he did get a DWI back in April.
Okay. Do you know he was arrested for one? Do you know, has he been charged with it or is just an arrest at this time?
Arrested, charged, and awaiting.
Okay. And what was his recommendation? Are you asking for him to follow up his recommendations or for another OSAR to be done?
I do believe we need another OSAR. His first recommendations were only for Padre classes. They do have the referral, but he has not set up those services. With the continued marijuana use and in addition to the DWI, we may need to reevaluate that before he starts any OSAR recommendation service.
Okay. As far as his other services outside of that, has he worked on those services and completed those?
No progress since the last hearing.
Okay. Your Honor, that would be our request today is that mom be ordered to follow through with her recommendations from the second OSAR, the inpatient rehab and the followed by outpatient services. And for due to the arising issues with dad, if we could have a second OSAR ordered on him.
Okay. Mr. Morales, what's your all's position about that? It's concerning, that we've continued to have positive drug tests. It's concerning that we've got an additional component now. So, what's the plan?
In your honor, I was gonna ask Ms. Brown, but I don't need to necessarily. The level on the cocaine was low. Not to provoke, not that that's an excuse by any means. Miss Stotts, I've spoken with her often, and I'm involved in all the communications with the department. She's really surprised. Doesn't really know, but obviously, sometimes you purchase and consume a drug, it could be, there could be additional drugs in it. We've discussed that. However, Miss Stotts, as explained, has worked all her services. She's was frustrated with the inpatient requirement, but we spoke, and she is willing to do that, and she's getting signed up now through. I'm not 100% sure. I was out last week while she was trying to work some of this out. But she did have some payment issues. She was going to go to Synacor, but I believe, I'm sorry, she was going to go somewhere in Lubbock, but she was unable to get that paid through the department. So she's having to go through her insurance. And so I'm not exactly sure, but she does have an inpatient program, 30-day program that she is getting ready to participate in. I believe later this month. She can probably elaborate on that. I'm not sure of the details. Like I said, I was out last week on that. But she understands. She is frustrated that the girls have still not been they've been separated at times. I understand there's been some issues as far as they were brief separations. But she's frustrated that they were not placed with her mom. I reviewed the home study with them. In my opinion, of course, it doesn't go very far, but I couldn't understand why mom was denied. She would like the court to reconsider another home study for her mother. Her mother seemed very appropriate to me, very responsible. Her mother did come with Miss Stotts on one of the appointments. They would like, the kids placed there. Obviously, the home studies a problem and an issue, but as far as everything else, Judge, I think she's on track. She was surprised by her results. And so, she's going to get into inpatient. She's going to do what she needs to do. But I think that kind of sums up our position. And Ms. Stotts, if I missed anything, please let me know.
I've already signed up for inpatient treatment. I started at the Serenity Center on Saturday. That's the only update.
So you're doing inpatient with Serenity?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you there now?
I'm not at the moment, no, but I gotta leave today to be at court. Because we can't have our phones at the center, so I couldn't do court on my phone at the center. So I had to request a leave.
Okay, but you've already gone to Serenity.
Oh, yes. I am in inpatient at Serenity Center. Yes. This is my 4th day.
Okay. So my question then back to Ms. Brown would be, what were the reasons for the denied home study on her mother?
On her mother, it was denied due to the fact that when she had an FESS case, the mother was a part of the safety plan. The mother was not upholding the safety plan, and she also did call the investigator at that time and said that she could not handle the children and that she needed help. She was a part of the removal reasons.
My mother, when she contacted that woman, she said that she could not handle going up and down the stairs with my children at my apartment. That is the only thing that my mother said to that woman.
Well, hang on, we'll get around to this. Okay. Ms. Zavala, have you seen the home study?
Your Honor, I do not remember if it has come through my office. I'll be happy to re-review it if I did see it when it came through. I don't have a recollection of the details at this time.
Okay. Anybody have any objection to me looking at it?
I do not.
I do not.
No objection.
I have no objection to you looking at it, Your Honor. It's been filed with the court.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right now. I have not reviewed it fully, but I'm looking at it right now.
I would like for Ms. Zavala to take a look at it again, and I will as well. And then my thinking is maybe have a sit-down meeting, with grandmother and mom and St. Francis, and go over, if if it really comes down to breaking that safety plan in the FBSS, and if we feel like she's physically capable of taking care of the children, if it comes down to those things, I would like to take a look at this and maybe stress the importance to grandmother about following the rules, and what that can result in if you don't follow the rules, and how hard that is on the kids. And we're set for trial September 24th. So, my hope is that Ms. Stotts successfully completes inpatient. That'll give her a little time before that trial date. It might even, at that point, justify extraordinary circumstances, to give her some time to demonstrate that she can stay away from marijuana and other substances. And maybe we can get the kids placed with family if that's what's going to happen. So Ms. Vala, you and I'll both do our homework later and take a look at that.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
One thing that my supervisor and I did discuss is that if LaQuisha is able to successfully complete inpatient and start outpatient, is introducing 1 children at a time back into the home. We feel that with the way that visits are in therapy, is that maybe the more effective route is to get some parenting in the home with LaQuisha, with her children, physically with her, and maybe we might make some progress that way.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll take a look at it, and then I'll let everybody know whether I'm going to order y'all to like a family team meeting, to talk about what the do's and the don'ts are and that kind of thing. But
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Nowak.
Thank you, Judge. And just briefly, Tiffany, I sure don't mean to diminish the drug results on Cameron, but is it fair to say that the only drug he's testing positive is marijuana?
Yes, sir.
Are you confident that he knows what the service plan requires him to do?
Yes, sir.
And I think you said in your report he was mildly cooperative. How would you like more contact with him by phone, by email, by text? How can he be more than mildly cooperative with you?
It's just being willing to meet, being willing to get these services done. I know he works overnight. Luisha works, but she's still able to do services. And so we just need to get it done. That's all.
I understand. And Tiffany, thank you so much. Judge, I'll pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Hammonds.
Judge, I just need to pull up Mr. Stott's TDC information and kind of get a projected release date. But my experience has been a 3-year sentence in TDCJ for the type of offense he pled to. He's going to do all of that. So I do not anticipate him being released prior to September.
Okay, and you said Mr. Stotts, but you meant Mr. Aguilar.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Adam Aguilar, yes.
Okay, just for the record. All right, Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, the girls are doing well. Indiana is still struggling with some behaviors. They are having regular sibling visits, which I'm glad are happening. The 2 younger ones are doing better. Indiana is having regular therapy, and we're receiving notes from that. The placement's trying to work with the therapist to kind of talk about the different incidents that are happening so that the therapist can work through those specifics. But I will happily pull up the home study, take a look at that, and figure out if grandma is an appropriate alternative. Until that time, I would say that placements are appropriate and should be continued.
Okay. And it may be that the younger 2 children could be placed with grandmother even before Indiana, and let us continue to try to intensely work with Indiana and some of these behaviors and things. I mean, I'm not opposed to, they're separated right now. So, it might be that that's a place to start. So, Miss Stotts.
I feel like it would be more productive for Indiana if she was with my mother.
Okay.
I am comfortable with Venus and my smaller two children. But Indy, I feel like her behavior will improve if she comes with my mother. She's always been with my mother. Since she was a small baby, my mom has always been her babysitter. She loves her granny. She loves to come with her granny. My mom can get Indiana out of an attitude in a heartbeat. And when I say that, I mean like Indiana has had an attitude with me, and my mom has walked through the door and Indiana's a sprite, like full of energy. She's more happy. She would be upset with me, crying, and then as soon as she sees her granny, she's happy. She's behaving. Her behavior improves. She's never had behavioral issues with my mother in school or at home. And when I say that, I mean like if she stayed with my mother throughout the week, that week at school was good. And sometimes I will say when she was home, her behavior was a little worse when she would go to school. So I feel like her being with my mother would be an improvement for her.
Okay. All right then.
Judge, may I ask Ms. Brown another quick question?
Sure.
Ms. Brown, has anybody requested paternity testing?
Yes, Adam has requested paternity testing for Egypt and Arrow.
Okay.
He wants to have they have requested a home study for Adam's grandparents, contingent upon the results of the paternity test.
Okay. Judge, I don't know if Mr. Aguilar has spoken to Mr. Hammonds about that, but evidently spoken to Ms. Brown about the paternity test.
Judge, let me just ask her, I guess, did he ask you about that while he was still out there at Potter County, or has he written you a letter from prison?
He does have a courtesy worker. He was in the Middleton unit. There at the Middleton unit, we did change the goals in the case, ask each parent to provide us with a list of possible family members that would like to adopt the children. His grandparents are at the top of the list for himself, but they would like 100% certainty that these are their grandchildren and that this is Adam's children before executing the home study.
Okay, so that's when he requested DNA testing when he was at Middleton?
Yes, he's at the San Saba unit currently.
Okay. All right, Judge. Yeah, while he was out here at Potter County and I had phone conferences with him, he just didn't mention that to me. So I was just wondering when that timing happened. But no, that's fine. I mean, if he wants to have a DNA test, I understand.
So, okay, so we'll get on that since we know where he's at. But he's would like, is it his parents or his grandparents? Say that again, Ms. Brown. I didn't get it.
Adam's grandparents.
Okay.
So great grandparents to the children, if he is found to be the father.
Today, I'm going to continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue placement, find a continuing danger to return the children home today, review the home study and determine whether any or all of the children can be placed with the maternal grandmother, and order genetic testing on Mr. Aguilar and Arrow in Egypt. I will, mom's already in inpatient, so I'm just going to order her to complete inpatient. And I will order Mr. Shelton to undergo another OSAR evaluation.
And Judge, what about outpatient once mom's out of? I think the recommendation was inpatient followed by outpatient.
Yeah, I certainly don't have a problem with doing that. That's something Ms. Stotts that, they're going to recommend to you that you, after the 30 days inpatient, that you continue with some aftercare program. So I'll let you think about what you want that to be. You can certainly talk to Ms. Brown about what options there may be for you. But for the duration of the case, I think that you should be involved in some sort of aftercare. So complete your inpatient and follow up with outpatient of some kind.
And Judge, up for Mr. Hammond's, he had mentioned having to look up Adams. TDCJ, it looks like his projected release date is October 18th of 26, and he's parole eligible on October 18th of 25.
Okay. Then I'll see everybody back. What's now scheduled as our final on September 24th at 9 a.m. I will just say, Ms. Stotts, if you've completed your inpatient and you're doing following up with outpatient and things are continuing to go well, it could be the basis to extend the case so that we can, monitor sobriety and everything else and hopefully come up with a plan to get the kids home.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, then I'll see everybody back September 24th.
Judge, given that that's going to be our final hearing, and I'm not sure what the court's practice is in mediation. I know in Mr. Shelton's companion case, we had mediation and it was successful. I don't know if this case is a candidate for mediation or not.
Well, my personal opinion is we're probably headed for an extension in the case.
Thank you, Judge.
And so I hesitate to jump to that. If Ms. Stotts successfully completes her inpatient and is following up, and let's just say we could maybe take a look at one or all the kids to be placed with their mother. I mean, that would obviously make, that helps with all the parenting and all the visitation. I mean, we all know it just makes things better for the family, if we can get the kids in that position where we can expand the amount of time that mom can spend with the children and be involved with the children and demonstrate that she's, got a handle on it. So I'm just wondering if mediation's premature. I guess that's the question.
Thank you, Judge.
Now, if she doesn't complete treatment and, things are going downhill, all you got to do is somebody pick up the phone or send an email that says, we're now requesting mediation, and then I'll do it. I just feel like it's kind of premature.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. All right. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
Judge, permission to leave?
We absolutely were
Thank
here
you. Have a
today,
great day.
originally scheduled for a final in this case, but an extension has been agreed to, and the court has agreed to grant that under a finding of extraordinary circumstances. So we're here today just to conduct a review hearing, and we are doing this through Zoom. We're live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making the record. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and take announcements just in the 97859 case.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Marissa Herrera is my permanency specialist. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
Bill Taylor representing Joshua Fletcher. He is present and we are ready, Your Honor.
Vince Nowak appearing on behalf of Stacy Zavala on behalf of the child. Present and ready, Judge.
All right, then why don't we go ahead and just get an update and conduct a review in this case? Anything new since the court report?
Not too much new. The children are still, Audrey's still placed with the relative in Lubbock, Texas, and Mr. Fletcher is still doing really well. He's at Multifarms in Lubbock, and that program will be done for him in October. He's working and he's almost completed all of his services that we've asked of him.
All right, has mother made any other progress?
Miss Galloway has reported that she's done a couple of parenting classes, and then she was working. I can't remember if it was Family Dollar or Dollar General, but I still have not received any pay stubs to confirm that employment, and she just did have a baby, so she's going to take some time off. We did see her at the hospital last week, and she admitted to marijuana use last Monday. But as far as the other services, none have been completed.
Okay, right, Mr. Eldridge, anything to report today?
So, Your Honor, I don't, are we on, maybe I'm on the wrong case.
Oh, we're on the Fletcher case.
Okay, that, I'm not a part of that one, I don't believe, right?
No, you got mom on both cases.
Okay, all right, I got them mixed up. So my client had a baby last week. My understanding was she's tested negative for methamphetamines in her last, when she had the baby, and the time before that is what she told. I spoke to her just a few minutes ago. She's behind on her services, but she has started to pick them up and she's trying to catch up. She does have a job now. And I think we both agree that she is behind, but she doesn't want to terminate and she wants to try to move forward, catch up and try to get her children returned maybe later in the year if possible.
Okay, well, Ms. Galloway, if you recall at the very beginning of this case, I admonished you that failure to work your services could be grounds to terminate your parental rights and or grounds that the children would not go home. So hang on, you're catching a break today because I've found that there are circumstances that grant warranting a 6-month extension in the case. So you've got another 6 months to get this stuff done, and then we'll take a look at it when we get to the end of the case. But I'm going to just remind you again, non-completion of your services, can mean the children don't go home, and it can mean termination of rights. Okay, Mr. Terman, or excuse me, not Mr. Terman, Mr. Taylor.
I don't think there's anything I need to add, Your Honor. Mr. Fletcher is doing very well in his program, and I think the caseworker has acknowledged that, so I have nothing further.
All right. Okay, and Mr. Nowak?
Judge, it's my understanding that there's an agreement for extension. We don't, the ad litem does not oppose that, and the ad litem says to continue placement.
Okay. Is the department working with mom in a family-based case with the new baby?
Yeah, so my son, Silas, he's with his dad right now, but I do get supervised visitations with him under his father and my dad, as well as some of his support, some of Sean's support that he has watching the baby while he's at work. And that was all signed and completed like less than 30 minutes ago when I had a meeting with them.
Okay, is that just under a safety plan? Is that what you all did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
May it please the court, Judge, I may have been remiss. I want to be completely clear with my report. As the court knows, Ms. Zavala is the ad litem. And I've been in contact with her about this case, and may it please the court, I'd like to finish out her recommendation.
Sure, absolutely.
Or her observations. Stacy Zavala says that dad has been working in a long-term rehab program and is doing very well. He's been cooperative, visits are going good. Everyone agrees to give him more time. That's the end of the report from the ad litem. Thank you so much, Judge, and I apologize for not saying that earlier.
No, that's fine. No problem. All right, then. I will then find extraordinary circumstances exist, and I will grant the extension in the case, and we will set a new dismissal date. Mr. Trout, do you know what that is?
November 29th of 24.
Okay. And our next hearing in this case will be on August 20th of 2024. That'll be a 9 o'clock docket. And then the final will be scheduled for November 19th of 2024, also on a 9 o'clock docket. I will make a finding as well that father is in compliance with his service plan. Mother is not at this point in time. And I would find that there would be a continuing danger to return the child home at this time. and that the department is using reasonable efforts to reunify the family. We're here today set for our final in this case. We are conducting this through Zoom. We are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record today. All right, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
Vince Noag appearing on behalf of Stacy Zavala for the child. Present, ready, Judge.
Ryan Turman on behalf of respondent father Derek Bennett. I am present and ready to proceed. My client is not here.
So, Your Honor, I'm Tate Eldridge. I represent the mother, Ariana Galloway. We're both present and ready. Based on the extension in the other case and the fact that there's a new baby that's been born and there's a new service plan that's been filed just today, I would petition the court to extend this case as you did the other case and kind of keep them on the same track and grant a continuance so she can finish out her services. Try to wrap it up all at one time is our position.
Okay, Mr. Trout, I'm assuming the department's opposing that.
We are, Your Honor. The only reason for the extension in the other case was due to Dad's progress and to give Dad more time on that. Had it not been for that, we'd be looking at termination on both cases right now. Dad, in this case, in the Bennett case, signed a relinquishment on Friday. We'll be proving that up today and asking for termination on all of this.
Well, a couple of questions. So my understanding was maybe all mom did was enter into a safety plan on the baby, not a FBSS case, and that would not be there would not be necessarily a service plan involved in that. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. There was the father in the to the new baby was not intending parent, so the baby was released to that father from the hospital, not released to mom.
Okay.
No, but I do have supervised visitations. I've also completed 4 of my 6 counseling sessions, and I'm going to parenting classes and starting domestic violence classes. I do have a job. I do work at Dollar General, and I do have a spot that I'm living that Marissa just was not able to assess because I did go into labor.
Okay. Well, Ms. Galloway, I didn't ask you for all that right just at this moment, but all right. Thank you for the information. I'm trying to establish that you're not working. Technically, she's not working services for the department in this with the new baby.
Correct, John.
Correct?
Correct.
So my question then for Ms. Herrera, I guess, would be, what services do we know that Ms. Galloway has completed at this point in time or engaged in?
She hasn't completed any of the services, but she reports that she started parenting classes through Hope Choice. She has completed the psychosocial. I do have that report from Jennings. She has attended, when I talked to Jennings, they said only 1 or 2 sessions. She's reporting now 4.
When did you talk to them?
I think it was last month when I talked to them.
So it's possible she's completed some more.
It is possible, yes, ma'am. She has not started the domestic violence. For the life of the case, I've never seen where she lives. She always wants to meet with me at the office, and we were scheduled to meet at her mother's the day she had the baby.
But not where she's living.
She claims that's where she's living, is with her mom, but she's lived there before and not allowed me in the home, and then her mom and her get into fights, and then she gets kicked out. So it's not very stable at her mother's either.
I've gotten kicked out of my mom's one
Ms.
time.
Galloway,
Yes.
Ms. Galloway, I'm not asking you anything right now. I'm asking Ms. Herrera. You don't just get to chime in when you want, okay? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Herrera.
And then as far as the job, she just started that job at Dollar General or Family Dollar about, I think it was in March.
You're wrong.
Let
me make it different.
Okay, Ms. Galloway, and whoever you're talking to, you need to, you just need to stop.
It was my son's father.
This is your, okay, this is your case, not his. He's not a witness in this case. So this is between us, okay?
Whatever comes up, all that bullshit.
If he can't control himself, he needs to just step away, or you need to go somewhere where you need to.
He's leaving. He just came up to pick up breast milk for my son.
Right. He has nothing to do with this case. All right. Ms. Herrera, go ahead.
We have attempted to get her an OSAR assessment twice, and they were not able to get in contact with her. So she has not completed an OSAR or any kind of recommendations. And then she does not drug screen every month.
Has she drug screened at all for us?
Yes, we do have some drug screens.
Have you seen verification of her job? I mean, have you seen any pay stubs?
No, I asked for one. She sent me a picture of, it looks like some kind of bank account from crypto. It wasn't a pay stub like we had requested.
I get them direct deposited to Cash App. That was my direct deposit from Cash App.
Okay, again, Ms. Galloway, I'm asking Ms. Herrera questions. You're going to have your opportunity, okay? That's why you have a lawyer. So, she's done reportedly 4 sessions of counseling, had a job for a short amount of time, says she has housing with her mother right now. But that certainly isn't her housing, correct? I mean, she's not on a lease, anything like that.
That's correct. Not that I know of.
So we at least know that she was positive for marijuana on her last drug screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Have we had a series of negative screens for methamphetamine?
When she went in April, her hair follicle was positive for methamphetamine. And then I believe in February was her last UA and it was positive for methamphetamine.
When was the last hair test that we did? April?
April, yes, ma'am.
What was the level?
Let me pull it up. It was 3,423.
What had it been before?
For her hair follicle, in November, it was 7,116.
All right, so it decreased.
Yes, ma'am.
Has she started any kind of drug treatment?
No, ma'am.
And did you tell me she did not appear for an OSAR, or did
She
we
did
ever
not.
schedule?
We sent in 2 referrals and they couldn't get in contact with her.
Okay, that's what you told me. I'm sorry. Then Mr. Eldridge, anything else that you all want to add that I need to know about?
Talking about the motion for continuance, or do you want, or we,
Well, it's in a motion for extension.
right?
We're up.
Just, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Our dismissal date is June 3rd. So what I need to hear from you is what are the extraordinary circumstances that you're referring to for me to grant the extension?
Well, I mean, I know these are separate cases, but there's three different kids, 3 different cases. They're still her children. The extension with the first case, I understand the reasonings based on the father. The fact that this new baby, even though she's not required to do services, CPS removed the child from her at the hospital, and she's just left the CPS office a few minutes ago to sign the paperwork necessary to move forward on that case. She hasn't had a chance to work any services on that. Just the combination of all the 3 cases, the fact that she has made a little bit of progress. I know it's not much. It's just, in my opinion, would line up better if we did at least the 2 cases together. And if this other case comes in, then we need to deal with it at the same time, and give her the chance to try to prove that she's on the right track. She is making some efforts. Not perfect, I agree. Her levels have gone down substantially. And that was April. My understanding is, and this is from my client, is that she was negative at the hospital. I haven't seen anything that says that, but that's what I'm being told. The best interest of trying to at least maintain the family unit a little bit, we would ask for the extension and allow her to try to finish up these services and get, at least stay in her children's lives.
Okay, well, I mean, the basis of a safety plan is that she has voluntarily entered into that, and so she has agreed to allow that child to go with the father of that child. There's no case there. There's not a service plan. And what the 2 of them end up doing legally about that child is between the 2 of them at this point. So there's no consideration in my mind. There's really no consideration for me to give to that because, we aren't involved in that other than they're just monitoring from afar for the time being. The other case, the extension, I mean, all extraordinary circumstances in that case were due to father's efforts. I even made a finding in that case that mother is not in compliance with her service plan. And, had she started drug treatment and even completed drug treatment, but still hadn't completed other services, that would have been a basis for finding an extraordinary circumstance. She's just done very little for us in the 12 months that we've been involved in this case. And so, the law requires me to find extraordinary circumstances, and I just don't see it. So I'm going to deny the request for extension in the case, and we're going to go ahead and move forward today with our final. So, Mr. Trout, how many witnesses do you have?
Probably could be calling 3 witnesses, Your Honor.
I have not had a break all morning. I know some of you have. I have not. I'm going to take about 2 minutes, and then we'll get started. Mr. Eldridge, do you need to speak with your client while I'm doing that real quickly?
Yeah, if you don't mind, because she doesn't,
Okay.
please.
All right. Let me set you all up real quick. And if anybody else needs a breakout room, I'm happy to set it up, and I will be very quick.
Go ahead and put Ms. Sasha Watson, Marissa Herrera, and Marvell Collins in a room, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Trout, who's your first witness?
Sasha Watson, Your Honor. And how are you familiar with that case?
I was the original investigator that removed the children.
How did the department become involved in a case with this child?
Our original investigation was due to medical neglect of a toenail being ripped off on the other child, and that sparked the investigation with all of the children in the home, which was Pandora as well. In that case, we also received a subsequent intake regarding concerns for drug use.
Were you able to make contact with the parents?
I did eventually.
Okay. And who was found to be the mother?
Ariana.
Okay. Ariana
Galloway.
Okay. And of Pandora, who was found to be the father?
Derek Bennett.
Okay. You said you were eventually able to make contact. What do you mean by that?
In the beginning, it took about a week or so to contact Ms. Galloway. I had gone over to the home and several other addresses that we had on file, and I was unable to reach her up until about the 22nd of March, in which I was able to conduct an interview with her.
Okay. And where were you able to meet up with her to conduct that interview?
I met with her at her mother's home.
Okay. And is that one of the addresses you had checked prior?
Yes.
Okay. And the first time you went by, she was not living there?
I left a business card, and I didn't get any calls back or anything like that. Also called Ariana. The voicemail on the phone wasn't set up. Eventually, my supervisor at the time, he reached out also. And then she ended up getting back with us and pretty much setting up a visit to meet at mom's home.
Okay. And were you able to discuss the report that had come in and the allegations you were looking at?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What did mom have to say about the allegations that had come in?
She told me that she was not around, that she had left the child in the care of Mr. Bennett, and when she was returned back around the child, they noticed the injury.
Okay. So it's her observation that she was not there when it happened?
Yes.
Okay. Were you ever able to speak to Dad as far as this part of the allegation?
Yes.
Okay. What was his outlook as far as how the injury happened?
He pretty much said the same thing, that he wasn't the caretaker at the time.
Okay. So as far as the injury, was it ever found out how the injury happened to the child?
No, sir.
Okay. Both parents saying that the child was in the care of the other parent?
Yes.
Okay. Did y'all discuss any ways to prevent any type of removal or family-based services with the parents?
Yes, we attempted to do a safety plan as well as family-based services, in which we actually did open up a family-based stage, and myself and the family-based worker, we did go to the home and meet with Ariana, in which, well, actually the day that we went to the home, mom of Ariana said that she wasn't living there and told us not to come back to the home. So we ended up meeting with Ariana at the office.
Okay. And when you say mom, are you talking about maternal grandmother to Bennett? Or
Yes.
Bennett child? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Has there been any prior CPS history concerning mom?
There was history with the family.
So did both parents agree to work family based?
Yes.
Okay. And did those get started?
They never did get started. We ended up drug screening due to that second report and not getting a UA or a hair screen at the facility. We did a oral swab for Ariana on the 22nd of May, and those results came back and she was positive for methamphetamines. There was concerns of the home and home members also being involved in drug use as well. And so we couldn't find any appropriate safety plan personnel since that drug screen for Ariana was positive.
Did you discuss the drug screen with Ariana?
Yes, we did.
And what did she admit to any drug use, or did she have a possible reason of why she was positive?
She reported that she had only used possible marijuana, I believe, maybe 2 weeks prior to that, and stated that it was the home environment that she lived in as to the reasoning of her being positive for the methamphetamines.
And the home environment at that time was maternal grandmother's home?
Maternal grandmother's home, yes, sir.
All right. When did the department begin looking for safety plans or a appropriate supervising party?
We did, in which we sought out relatives who were willing in the Lubbock area. However, they were not in town and they weren't going to be in town within about 24 hours or so. So we couldn't establish appropriate supervising care for the children or Ariana.
Okay. Did you rule out maternal grandmother based upon what mom had said?
Yes, and she was not cooperative, just in speaking in the original report either.
Okay. As far as dad, where was dad living at the time?
He was pretty much homeless. He was not in the home with Ariana, and I met with him at the office whenever I spoke with him.
Did he state where he was living, or when he had a place to stay?
I can't recall 100%. I know that they had been staying in some hotels, but I can't recall if he gave me an exact address for himself.
When talking to both parents, did either one of them mention any domestic violence that had gone on in the past or present in the home?
Yes. Ariana told me of some long-standing history of domestic violence between she and Mr. Bennett.
Did she state whether the children were in the home at that time when those happened?
I can't recall.
And you had stated that you had asked during the family-based service, you had asked for mom to drug screen.
Yes.
Okay. And she had missed her drug screens?
Yes, and which is why we did the oral.
Okay. Did she ever try to set up or start any of the services?
No.
Due to sorry, let me back up just a second. When you confronted mom about the drug screens, did she mention if she was able to take care of the children or not at the time?
She pretty much stated that her back was against the wall and she really didn't have any other options or, not very stable enough to do so.
I'm sorry to interject. Maybe I missed something, but is everybody aware that Ms. Galway seems to have dropped off?
Let me get back.
I did not see her.
Screen. Yes, she has.
Judge, her phone died. She's plugging it up. She's trying to log on right now.
Okay, we got you. Okay, we stopped as soon as we realized you had dropped off, so. All right, I'm getting some feedback. I'm going to go ahead and mute you, Ms. Galloway, since it's coming through your device somehow.
Yes, I think so.
Is there anybody else?
No, there's nobody. No, I'm in the living room by myself.
Okay, sometimes if there's another device close to you, it causes this. That's why I'm asking. Do you have a computer or a tablet or anything else?
No,
turned on?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well,
I can mute myself if that helps.
Either way, I can do it with you, but we'll see. We'll deal with it when it's time for you to talk. Go ahead, Mr. Trout. Okay.
Thank you, Anna. I believe that we fell off right around stating whether mom's statements after you confronted her with the drug screens. And you're muted, Ms. Watson. There you go.
Yes. And so whenever we confronted her regarding the drug screens, we did attempt to give her the opportunity to go to the Serenity Treatment Center. However, in order to do so, you have to admit that you have used drugs, and she did deny several times that she didn't use any drugs. And then we also couldn't find that supervising party for her, and she pretty much broke down and reported that she had no other options aside to move out of state to obtain supervising parties, and that she had been battling being able to care for the girls and provide them with everything while getting herself together also. And so she stated that she didn't have any other option, and the best thing to do at that moment was for the department to remove the children.
When you originally spoke with Dad, did Dad have any family or anybody that he was close to that could have watched the kids?
No.
Did he ever give you any names of any people?
No.
Due to the allegations, the drug screening came back positive, not being able to find a supervising party, the department believed it was in the best interest of the children to remove the children at that time.
Yes.
And where were they placed after removal?
They went to a foster placement. I waited to see if we were able to find foster placement, and they were taken to St. Francis office, and St. Francis took it from there.
Okay. Were you able to set up visitations with the children?
Yes, St. Francis.
Okay. Did Dad have his visits?
Yes.
Okay. Were mom's visits set up?
Yes.
Okay. How did the children adjust to being in care?
That knowledge I don't have. I did the removal and St. Francis took it from there. So all prior contact after that was through St. Francis and everything that they set up.
Okay. During your investigative report and stuff, was a kinship home study request put in?
As far as my suggestion in the meeting, it was requested for the family in Lubbock.
Okay, and so the home study was requested on the same people that you had spoken to earlier that were out of town?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And you do believe that under those circumstances at that time, it was best interest of the children to remove?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Eldridge.
I don't have any questions of this witness, Your Honor.
All right, and Mr. Turner?
No questions, Judge.
All right, Mr. Novak.
Thank you so much, Judge. And I think, Ms. Watson, I think Daniel might have asked you this question, but to your knowledge, has mom completed any services?
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you so much. Pass the witness, Judge.
Okay, anybody else have any further questions for Ms. Watson?
No further questions.
No, none for me, Judge.
No, Your Honor.
All right, any objection to her being released at this time?
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
All right, Ms. Watson, thank you so much for your time today, and you're free to log out and go on about your day's activities.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, you have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Watson.
You guys as well. Thank you.
All right, and you can call your next witness.
Call Marissa Herrera. How are you familiar with that case?
I've been assigned the case since removal.
And today we're here asking for termination on both parents as to the child. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the dad's name is Derek Bennett, is that correct?
Yes.
Did Derek Bennett execute an affidavit of voluntary relinquishment as to the paternal rights?
Yes.
And was that executed on May 24th of 2024?
Yes.
Have you had a chance to review that?
Yes.
Did dad sign the relinquishment?
Yes.
Was it witnessed by two people?
Yes.
Was it notarized?
Yes.
Has the department signed and consented to being the managing conservator of the child?
Yes.
And was that filed with the court on May 24th of 2024?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would ask to admit exhibit number 3 is the affidavit of voluntary relinquishment that Ms. Herrera just testified to.
No objection.
No objection.
All right, the petitioner's exhibit 3 will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Herrera, as far as dad is concerned, is the department asking to terminate the parental rights based solely upon the affidavit of voluntary relinquishment?
Yes.
And is willing to waive all other grounds and just proceed on the?
Yes.
And do you believe that's in the best interest of the child?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Herrera, when you first get a case, what are the first steps the St. Francis goes through?
We meet with the parents and assess the needs to figure out what services they need to complete to get their child back.
And do you draft service plans?
Yes.
And can you tell me what service plans are?
Service plans are a list of services that the parents have to comply with, and it addresses the reasons of removal so that way they can provide a safe environment for their child to come back to.
And is this one of the ways that the St. Francis Department provides many services to work toward reunification?
Yes.
Did you do that in this case?
Yes.
And were you able to go over those with mom?
Yes.
Were those filed with the court?
Yes.
And were they made in order of the court?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would ask, excuse me, Ms. Herrera, did you receive what I sent out at marked exhibit number 1?
Yes.
Can you pull that up?
Yes.
And can you tell me what exhibit number 1 is?
It's Ariana Galloway's family plan of service.
And these are the family plans that we just discussed that y'all draft?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would ask to admit exhibit number 1 is the certified copy of the family plans of service for Andrea Galloway that was filed with the court and just testified to.
No objection.
No objection.
I don't have any objections, Your Honor.
All right, and the department's exhibit 1 will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Herrera, what services were asked of mom or court ordered for mom to do?
She was asked to locate and maintain stable housing, stable employment, comply with the department and stay in contact with them, parenting classes, a psychosocial, individual counseling, attend drug screens, do an OSAR assessment, and then domestic violence.
Okay. We'll just kind of go through kind of one by one. Has mom, to your knowledge, does mom have stable housing?
No.
And do you know where mom lives at this time?
She reports she lives with her mother at this time.
Okay. Has mom lived in different places throughout the last year in this case?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how many places she's lived?
No, she was living in Canyon with friends that she didn't feel comfortable with me going there at one point. She's lived with different friends, couch surfing, and then her mom a couple times.
Okay. Have you been able to visit the inside of any of the places she's lived?
No.
Did Ms. Galloway stay in constant contact with you?
Not really. It was really hard to stay in contact with her. Email was the best until she just got a phone about a month or 2 ago.
Okay. Have you had any verification of jobs that Ms. Galloway's had?
No.
Are you aware of any jobs she's currently working?
She reports that she works at either Family Dollar or Dollar General, one of those stores.
Does mom have visits with the child?
Not at this time. Those were suspended.
Okay. And why were those suspended?
In April, one of the visits, she was nodding off and appeared to look under the influence on her virtual visit. And so it was discussed with Stacy Zavala and also internally to suspend the visits until we got some clean drug screens from her.
At this point, just overall, has mom been compliant with her service plans?
No,
Has she or completed her parenting classes?
no,
Does mom drug screen for you regularly?
no,
Has mom no-showed, no-call drug screens?
yes.
Do you know how many times?
Let me pull it up. At least 5 times.
Has mom, on the times that she has drug screened for you, has mom tested negative at any time through this case?
See. She did in April. It was negative for UA.
Okay. And was that a negative or negative dilute?
Dilute.
But hair follicles were positive?
Yes.
And positive for what?
The hair follicle was positive for marijuana and methamphetamine.
Throughout the case, on the screens that mom has taken, has she been consistently positive for marijuana or methamphetamine?
Yes.
Did mom ever do her OSAR?
No.
Has that been set up a time or two?
Yes.
And has mom no-showed or not made her appointment?
They just could not get in contact with her after 3 attempts. And so then we have to resubmit the referral when it happens like that.
Okay. And how many times has that been done?
Twice.
Did mom do her psychosocial?
She did.
And were there recommendations that came out of that?
Yes.
What were the recommendations?
To continue counseling was one of them. Have gainful employment, attend parenting classes, and then attend an OSAR. And then it also said for Texas Panhandle Centers that she could address her psychotropic medication needs.
And by that has mom been diagnosed with something that you're aware of?
When I saw her at the hospital last week, was the first time she ever told me that she was on some kind of medication, but I honestly can't remember what it was for or what the medication was.
Okay. But according to this recommendation, they recommended her going to Panhandle to see about that?
Yes.
Okay. Has mom followed through with any of the recommendations?
No.
Has she completed her individual counseling?
No.
Has she done any of the individual counseling?
When I talked to them, she had completed 2 sessions.
Okay. And when's the last time you spoke to them about that?
Last month.
Okay.
In April.
Okay. Has mom participated in her domestic violence support group?
No.
So out of all the services that were court ordered, mom's only completed the psychosocial?
Yes.
But then didn't follow through with the recommendations?
Correct.
Okay. Was the recent stopping of the visitations the first time that's happened to the case?
Do you mean like seeing her under the influence or just?
Well, no, I'm sorry. Have visits ever been stopped before?
No, we had discussed it at one court hearing because she was so inconsistent. It was causing a lot of trouble for the children. She'd be gone for a couple of weeks and then she'd come in for a visit and it was really disruptive to the children. So there was discussions about suspending them, but we never did because then she was consistent. But then we had the one where she looked like she was nodding off. And so that's why they were suspended.
Okay. So mom did do visitations. They were could be inconsistent throughout the case.
They were always virtual. Yeah. And they were inconsistent.
Okay. So at no time, due to not working services and drug screens not always being clean or no showing, mom never worked up to in-person visits.
That's correct.
Okay. Where is Pandora now?
She's in a relative placement in Lubbock.
And how's she doing?
She's doing really well. There's no concerns with her.
Growing well, developmentally well, going good?
Yes.
Is the department today asking the court to terminate the parental rights of Ariana Galloway as to the child?
Yes.
And is that based on field work services?
Yes.
Do you think, or let me back up. Do you think at this time mom could provide a safe environment for the child?
No.
Did the department give the child or give mom the resources to try to reunite with the child?
Yes.
Did mom take advantage of those?
No.
And you said that mom has been inconsistent with her visitations with the child,
That's correct.
and that actually at this time visits have been stopped.
Yes.
Has mom done anything to try to reinstate those visits?
No.
And so are you asking the court also to terminate parental rights on constructive abandonment?
Yes.
And do you believe that's in the best interest of the child?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would also ask to admit exhibit number 4, which is affidavit of business records. It's been filed with the court. It is the tests that have been testified to throughout it.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, then petitioner's exhibit 4 will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll pass the witness at this time, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Eldridge?
So, Ms. Herrera, some of the things we talked about a little while ago and that you just testified to, my client may or may not have completed a little bit more than you know about. Is that true?
That's true.
Okay. Like her job, you said you don't have proof that she's had employment, but as she stated, she sent you a screenshot of the Cash App where her paycheck was deposited, even though it wasn't a specific, the form of paycheck like we're used to seeing, you could see where the deposit was made. Is that right?
It just said the amount. It didn't say where it came from. It didn't have any details. It just said a dollar amount and that was it. So.
But that's her way of trying to prove that she's employed. Is that what she told you at least?
That's what she told me, yes.
Okay. And then the other question on the personal counseling, you said you verified too, but that was at least a month ago, I believe you said.
Yes.
And she stated that she's done a couple of more than that. So she may or may not have completed, say, 4 of the personal counseling sessions in lieu of the 2. Is that possible at least?
Yes, that's possible.
And then with the medication, she's been diagnosed with depression. And I believe I don't think this has been verified either, but she's back on her depression medications. I don't know if she went through TPC, but based on the birth of this child, she's back on her psychiatric medications based on what she's tested, or based on what she's told you at least. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And I know that's not verified, but according to her, that's done as well. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And the OSAR, that's been set up twice, and then they made 3 phone calls. Couldn't get a hold of her. She's been fairly destitute this whole time, and she went for a period of time, it sounds like, without a cell phone. Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. And the OSAR, I mean, it kind of sounds like she was avoiding the OSAR, but she didn't have, at least she didn't have a cell phone during big periods of this case where she could receive the phone calls from OSAR to get that set up. Is that possible as well?
I had emailed her their contact number so she could use a friend's number to call them because that's how she usually would get in touch with me when she didn't have a phone. So I did email her the phone number of who to call so she could try to get that set up.
Okay. And then she didn't reach out and get it set up?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. All right then. And the information I had was that she did not test positive for methamphetamines with the birth of the new child. Do you know if that's accurate or not? Do you have any information on that?
When I went to the hospital, they said she just tested positive for marijuana.
Okay. So we can deduce, I guess, that she did not test positive for methamphetamines.
That's correct.
She would have been tested. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Other than that, she hasn't completed any of the other services that you've asked. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, that's all I have. I'll pass the witness.
Quick question. Did they test the baby?
I believe they were going to test the baby. I just don't have those results.
Good. I can answer that if you want me to.
That's fine.
Believe the UA was negative on the baby. They had sent the meconium off, but it did not come back.
Okay, that's really what I was asking about was the meconium. So
Yeah,
okay.
as far as I know, it hasn't come back.
We don't know. Okay. All right. Okay. All right then, Mr. Terman.
Just very quickly, Judge, if I may. Ms. Herrera, it was your intention to seek termination at today's hearing on my client, Mr. Bennett. Is that right?
Yes.
And as I understand, at least some of the reasons that the department was seeking termination was because he had failed to allow St. Francis to inspect the inside of his residence. Is that correct?
He did finally let us in his mother's house, but it would not be appropriate for Pandora to be there. It's very cluttered and filthy and just a lot of stuff everywhere on the floor. But he did let us in the home recently.
When did he let you in the home?
Give me 1 second, I can pull it up. It was on April 25th.
Okay. Additionally, your concerns were that he was continuing to test positive for marijuana. Is that correct?
Yes.
Additionally, he had failed to complete recommended services. Is that right?
Yes.
Are there any other basis upon which you were seeking termination?
He told us he would not be able to meet her needs or be able to care for her. And that was what he told us on April 25th.
And this question is going to be a bit nuanced. I'm not asking you to predict what would have happened, but walking into this final hearing, did you feel confident that you would likely obtain a termination of his parental rights in a contested hearing?
I'm not really sure.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Novak?
No questions, Judge.
All right, Mr. Trout, anything further for Ms. Herrera? You're muted.
Sorry, Your Honor. No more well, excuse me, one more quick question. Ms. Herrera, on the service plan exhibit number 1 that was admitted, did mom sign those service plans?
Yes.
So she was aware of all the services that were required to be worked throughout this case?
Yes.
I mean, did y'all have multiple conversations about service plans?
Yes.
Pass witness, Your Honor.
I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Anybody have anything?
No, Judge. No, thank you.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Trout, I guess you can call your next witness.
Call Ariana Galloway, Your Honor. And Ms. Galloway, you've been here for the testimony, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you aware, you signed the service plans, were you aware that you had to work services?
Yes.
Did you work those services throughout this case?
Some of them towards the end when I had the capability to do so.
Good. And in the last 12 months, have you finished the services that were asked of you?
I have not finished them, no.
When was the last time you used methamphetamines?
Before April.
Can you give me a month?
Probably the end of March.
And so at that time in March, you used knowing you were pregnant?
Unfortunately.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Eldridge.
Okay. Ariana, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
So you and I talked about this before the hearing and then at the beginning of this hearing. I kind of told you what the question was I was going to ask you. You don't want your parental rights to be terminated. Is that right?
I don't.
Okay. And it's been pretty clear that you haven't completed the services that you should have completed, right?
That is correct.
So I'm going to kind of ask an open-ended question. Why should the judge not terminate your parental rights?
Because I want a chance to make things right. I made a lot of mistakes and I'd been making a lot of mistakes due to my depression and the dark place that I was in. And I went on my own volition to get put back on my depression meds through Texas Tech, my doctor, before I had the baby, in order to try to stable my mental state. I did start going to parenting classes. I did do some of the counseling sessions. They're just all the way in Canyon and it's hard to get to them. I do have a job and I have been making an attempt to situate my life and create a better situation in my life, not just for the girls, but my new baby and for myself. I just want a chance to stay in their lives, to do things right, to be the mom that they deserve.
Now, I believe Ms. Herrera testified, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but testified that you had not completed any of the parenting classes. Have you actually completed some of the parenting classes?
I've been to 4 of them. I go every Tuesday between 6 and 7 o'clock at night. They make me sign in and everything.
Where do you go?
With Hope Choice.
All right. And then you were supposed to do personal counseling. There's some testimony that you had completed 2 of those. How many of those have you actually completed?
Last time I went, they told me I had completed, I believe they said 4 of them.
And when's the last time
And
you went?
that's what their secretary told me.
When's the last time you went?
A couple months ago, because I have not had a way all the way out to Canyon. But their secretary had told me that I had completed 4 of them out of 6.
All right. So there's been some questions about your job. Do you have a job?
Yes, I work at the Dollar General right by the blind store.
How long have you been there?
A little over a month now.
Okay. Do you have a vehicle?
No, but I do have, my dad gives me rides to and from appointments, and because I'm working, I do take Ubers to and from to make sure that I can attend where I need to be. It's just counseling sessions are hard because they are all Bland Canyon.
Been periods of time where you didn't have a cell phone. Do you have a cell phone now?
I do now. Yes, I pay my own phone bill. I'm using my phone bill to attend the Zoom meeting now.
So where do you live now?
I do live at my mom's house. That's exactly where I'm sitting right now. For a while there, it was inconsistent. Me and my mom were having issues getting along because of the situation with my girls.
How long have you been there?
About a month now.
All right. So you didn't show up to take some of the drug tests you were supposed to take. Why did you not show up?
I either did not even see that I needed to attend them until the day after, or I did not have a way to.
Okay.
Or no way to even contact Marissa to let her know that I needed a ride to them.
All right. The OSAR, you were supposed to do the OSAR, and Ms. Herrera sent you the phone number. Why didn't you reach out to get the OSAR set up?
I had called them twice and did not get a response. I had to leave a voicemail, and I never could get a hold of them, or we always missed calls.
Okay. So why do you think it would be in your child's best interest that your parental rights not be terminated? I mean, you've testified a little bit, but these cases are about the kids, right? So why is it better for your child that your parental rights not be terminated?
Because she deserves to know that I didn't give up and that I want to do right. Because I do. She deserves to be with her mom if her mom can do what she's supposed to, and I'm trying. I know it's too late. Hopefully not too late, but all I can do is try. I can't change what has happened and how I fucked up. All I can do is do better.
Okay. And so the judge has a big decision to make. I mean, she has to go based on what you've done, right?
I understand.
How do we know that you're going to do any different? You haven't stayed clean for most of this case. How are you going to stay clean in the future?
I don't have any room to mess up. I don't, not anymore. I'm back on my depression meds, and it wasn't about addiction. It was about depression. I was in a really dark space between my marriage imploding, my best friend dying, my grandma dying, and the girls getting removed all in the same year. It was really hard.
Okay.
I have a better support system. I'm doing better. Going to work keeps me out of trouble. It makes me feel better about myself, and it gives me something to motivate myself.
If the judge were to not terminate your parental rights, but name the department are you okay with the department being named as permanent managing conservator, with you still having to complete these services before you can have any substantial contact with your daughter? You know what I'm saying? Will you finish the services? Will you finish what you're supposed to do? It sounds like you need to go to treatment. Will you go to treatment?
What kind of treatment?
Drug and alcohol treatment.
I was already talking with Alexis is the caseworker for my son. We were already talking about doing AA meetings and things like that. Maybe some outpatient stuff.
Okay. But you understand the judge is not going to give your daughter back to you today, right? But
yes, I know that.
What you're asking for is that your parental rights not be terminated, but the department be named as managing conservator, but that you're willing to complete these services with the court and CPS, following up on your progress to make sure you finish it. And if you don't, then you absolutely would be terminated in the future. Are you willing to do all that?
I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to not have a single other drug test pop positive for anything.
Okay. All right. So, Your Honor, that's all I have. I'll go ahead and pass the witness.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Eldridge. Okay. Mr. Novak, I think.
Briefly, Your Honor. Miss Galloway, did I hear you just testify that you used meth 2 months ago?
Back in March, yes.
That's 2 months ago, correct?
Yes.
Did I also hear you just testify that you're doing all I can do for my child?
I said that all I can do is do better. And as of right now, I'm going to services, trying to do better, and I am clean, and I'm intend to stay that way.
Pandora is 2 years old?
Yes.
Okay. And when she was 18 months old, you chose to use meth, correct?
Unfortunately, it was a
Ma'am,
mistake.
yes or no?
Yes.
You used meth, right?
Yes.
You knew you were coming to court today, correct?
Yes.
You
Well,
knew
actually,
that-
no, I didn't know I was coming to court today. I didn't know until Tate called me.
And I
20 minutes
appreciate, I appreciate that, ma'am. You knew you were going to have to come to court at some point to talk about Pandora, correct?
Yes.
You knew you were going to have to convince the judge that you could be a good parent, correct?
Yes.
Good parents don't use meth, correct?
Yes.
It's not safe to place a child with a parent who is actively using meth, correct?
Correct.
And you used meth 2 months ago, correct?
Yes, 2 months ago.
Pass the witness, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I think I may have failed to give you an opportunity. I'm sorry.
I don't think I have any questions that are relevant to my case, Judge.
All right, Mr. Trout, back to you. And you're muted.
Sorry, at least I do mute myself sometimes. Ms. Galloway, you stated a while ago when Mr. Eldridge was asking you some questions that the secretary had told you had done 4 counseling sessions. Is that correct?
Yeah. For the Jennings Counseling Office, the front desk lady, yes.
Okay. And you're required to do how many counseling sessions under your service? Okay. So my question is, how do you, out of 6 counseling sessions, how do you not know how many sessions you had gone to?
I mean, I had done the psychosocial, and then I know for sure I had been to at least 3 of the counseling sessions. She told me I'd been to 4.
Okay. But my point is, it's only, even if it's 4, it's only 4 counseling sessions. How do you not know that number?
I do. That's why I told you that I for sure have gone to 3.
Well,
She's
you
told
told me
me.
the secretary informed you that you had gone to that meeting.
Yes, I had talked to her about in the day that I'm talking about, I had talked to her about how many that I needed to do in general, and she told me how many they had on file that I had been to versus how many I had to do.
Okay. And so in 12 months, how long, excuse me, back up, how long are the counseling sessions?
An hour.
Okay. So in 12 months, you didn't have 6 free hours?
It wasn't about 6 free hours. It was about a way to all the way to Canyon. It was about rides and the ability or even ways to set up appointments.
Agreed. And this case is about getting your child back.
Yes.
And you can make 6 hours or get a friend to give you a lift to go to Canyon for a 1-hour session?
I didn't have a whole lot of support back then. I had little to no support back then.
You stated earlier on one of the services, I believe you've done 4 and you go every Tuesday. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that was for which service?
That's for the parenting classes with Hope Choice.
Okay. And when did you start those?
About 4 weeks ago. 5 actually, because I did miss 1 week out of them.
Okay. So for the first 11 months, you didn't even attempt it.
No, I had attempted it, but I was moving around too much and I didn't have a way to to Hope Choice in general. Plus I got very, very pregnant and it was hard to walk all the way from wherever I was staying at the time.
Okay. Nobody could give you a ride?
No, my dad works during the day, and the only time that I'm allowed to use the vehicle is if I'm living in the home.
Okay. But again, in 11 months, you waited 11 months to do every Tuesday for a parenting class, and you've yet to complete it.
It wasn't that I waited, it was the lack of ability, but yes.
Okay. Did you wait till the last minute to start any of the services?
Not on purpose, no. But with the way it looked, yes.
Are you an adult?
Yes.
Do you make the decisions on what happens in your life?
Yes.
So you waited to the last minute to start your services?
I didn't have an ability to even go to these services until recently.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Galloway, I mean, people that you lived with throughout the case, I mean, did any of them have phones?
For a big portion of it, I wasn't really living with anybody. In this past year, as much as I don't like to admit it, I had slept under a bridge for some weeks of it, or I was in hotels, or sometimes not even that.
Okay, hotels have phones, correct?
Yes, they have room phones, yes.
And you had Ms. Herrera's number?
In my email.
Okay, did you ever attempt to call her when you were staying in a hotel and tell her you didn't have transportation, you needed assistance getting to your services?
I had made an attempt to email her on a few different occasions, and she just reminded me that if I needed the department, then I wasn't fit for the girls. So I didn't use it because it just felt like if I did, then it would just be used against me.
Did you specifically ever ask her for a ride to drug test or to go to a counseling session or anything like that?
To drug tests, yes, and she wasn't always able to help due to her schedule or not being able to find another caseworker. I had also talked to one of my support workers, but throughout this case, I've had two different support workers for like a week each, and it wasn't very helpful in completing services without the support worker or anybody to really help.
Was it difficult for those people to get in touch with you?
Yes, it was difficult for me to get in touch with a lot of people as well, just because of the lack of a phone or not having numbers or not having a way into my email half the time.
Where were you staying under a bridge?
The Western and I-40 bridge.
Did you ever just walk about half a mile over to the department's office?
I didn't even know that the department had an office over there.
You were never over at the department for a meeting or at the time of removal or
Are you talking about the one off of 15th?
Yes, ma'am.
That one I knew was there, yes, but I didn't, honestly, I was scared and I didn't really know that anybody would want to help. I was really scared.
But you didn't go over there and try to make contact and ask for help?
I didn't think that I could go to the CPS building to make contact with Marissa if she's with St. Francis, and I just didn't know.
Okay. Did you keep in contact with your attorney during this case?
I tried. I'd been trying. Well, I also didn't have an attorney until probably a few months ago. The last 3 weeks I'd been trying to get in contact with my attorney. I'd given their secretary my new phone number, as well as just given it to Jayden. And in the past 3 weeks, I'd been trying to get a hold of him and hadn't been able to get in touch with him. And he wasn't able to get in touch with me before our last court hearing until the same day, and I didn't even know I had received an attorney until that same day as our last court hearing.
Well, I mean, you were given paperwork at the outset of the case.
My support worker had filed it, and
let me finish my question. Okay, it's just because it's hard for the court reporter to take two people talking at once. I mean, you were given paperwork at the beginning of the case to request an attorney, correct?
Yes.
And then we never did see that for a long time. Did you ever fill that out?
I had filled it out and tried to take it in, but when I went to go take it in, nobody was nobody was there. They had just left when I went downtown to go take in the paperwork. And then after that, I had lost it and hadn't received it again other than an email, but again, without a phone or even there was no way I could print the paperwork half the time. My last support worker ended up bringing it to me when I was staying in Canyon, and she filed it for me. And then I guess she was on leave or left with St. Francis. I'm not quite sure. And I had asked Marissa about it a couple times, and she said she would look into it. And I didn't even know that I had an attorney until the day of our last court hearing, or the day before. Okay, well, you're appointed an attorney back in December 28th of 2023. When did you first get your telephone? Let's see. I got it with my first check, so about the 1st of May. Before that, I did have a free government phone that did have service, but I only had that one for about a month.
All right, anybody have additional questions for Ms. Galloway?
Just a couple, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
Ms. Galloway, you didn't have any money. You said you were on the streets. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm assuming you couldn't afford a hotel room at that time.
Not very often. If I could, the money came from either my dad or friends.
And you didn't have money for a phone for a lot of this case.
That is correct.
How did you afford meth?
Honestly, depending on who you know, it's just kind of given to you. You meet certain people, other people have it, and they share.
How did you get up with those people?
It was just people that you meet while living on the streets. Like it's just people you run into. Sometimes staying in hotels, you run into people that do certain drugs or do things that they shouldn't, and it's just a bunch of bad influences and things I didn't say no to when I should have.
So throughout this case, you've had time to get up with those people, to use meth, but you didn't have time to find out where St. Francis office was, or go to CPS office, or go to your attorney's office?
Even currently, I don't know where my attorney's office is. When it comes to St. Francis office, that's all the way off of Ross, and half the time I was closer to Western. That's fairly far. And when it comes to the CPS office, I didn't know that I could go to the CPS building to get a hold of Marissa. I didn't know that that was even an option.
Did you ever try to ask?
They're two different, I guess, departments, companies. It didn't even cross my mind.
I understand you had some hard times throughout this, but you didn't put forth the effort to get this done, did you?
When I did, it was a constant, what felt like downhill battle. And a lot of my depression did hold me back. When things didn't go the way that I wanted them to, it discouraged me a lot. And it made it a lot harder to feel like I was capable.
And did you understand that the people involved in this case were to help you with those things?
It didn't feel like it. Not once throughout this entire case has it honestly felt like Marissa was trying to help.
You're an adult, and these were about your children, correct?
Yes, and when I asked for help, it just felt like it was going to reflect badly on me.
And you didn't work your services.
It's really hard when I'm living on the streets and I have no way to and can barely feed myself because I couldn't live at my mom's because of the situation with the CPS case. She didn't want me here. Plus, we had a bad relationship back then.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody have any further questions from Ms. Galloway?
No questions, Judge.
No, Judge.
Your Honor, I don't have anything further. I'm just looking at my file. I got appointed, this sheet says, and maybe I messed up. I got appointed on March the 5th. That's what I have. But I don't know. I know it didn't change anything. I'm just bringing that up.
Let me make sure I looked at it correctly, just so the record is correct. Just a minute.
I'm just looking at it right here in my file.
I thought I saw her statement of procedures that was statement of procedures of Ms. Galloway was filed on December 28th, and I have order appointing attorney ad litem for Mother Tate Eldridge on December 28th of 2023.
I know. I've got one right here. It says March 5th, 2024. In the interest of Pandora, and then I've got another one that says in the interest of Audrey. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. That's what I have. But I don't remember, honestly. I know I opened my file in February. I opened my file on February the 7th. So I don't know how I opened the file before I got the appointment, but.
Let me just open up this document. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at an order that I signed on December 28th. I can't explain that.
Judge, it may be what Mr. Eldridge is looking at on your order appointing the ad litem states that the review hearing is on March 5th.
It does say that in that order.
Oh, you're right. Never mind. So I would draw all that. Never mind. I looked at the wrong thing. I've got it highlighted, so I wouldn't miss the hearing. My bad. Excuse me.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So, Ms. Galloway, I have one other line of question for you. You're now back living at your mother's home, which is the same home that you, at the time of removal of the child, you had expressed, concern, and there was concern about that was not an appropriate home because of drug use in that home.
That was never proven.
Did you tell the department back then that there was a problem with the child being in that home?
No, not that I remember. I don't remember ever having an issue with my kids being in this home. I remember I had an issue with my relationship with my mother, but that's been cleared up and her and I are doing a lot better. I have a lot more support here than I did before.
Okay. All right. Anybody have anything further of this witness?
Nothing further.
No, Judge.
Nothing further.
Okay. All right then, Mr. Trout, any further witnesses today?
No further witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay, does the department rest?
Department would rest.
All right. Mr. Eldridge.
Your Honor, my argument's the one I brought up kind of earlier. She hasn't completed all the services. That's pretty clear. She has made some attempts. She's gotten clean lately. She's got stable housing. She's got a job. She's done some of the classes. I get that it's probably not appropriate to return the child to her at this point in time. We're not asking for that. We're just asking that she not be terminated, name the department as permanent managing conservator with the requirement that she complete all these services but before we have any sort of review to see if she can get this done. She's got 2 other kids that are still kind of dangling out here. And I just hate to break up, lose one kid and hope, you know what I mean? Don't want to break up I know it's not a family unit, but break up the group. That's our plea to the court.
Okay, Mr. Eldridge, do you have any witnesses to call today?
No, I was going to call Ariana. So she's already been called. I don't have any other witnesses. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking for closing. I don't have any witnesses.
That's all right. Okay, Mr. Turman, anything to present today?
Judge, I have no witnesses to present. I would like to make a statement whenever the court would like me to do so.
Okay, we'll get there. Mr. Novak, any witnesses to call today?
No witnesses, just a recommendation when the court is ready.
Okay. All right. Okay, just before we close and all that, Ms. Herrera, so the siblings are, and I'm not talking about the new baby. I'm talking about the 2 cases that we have. They're placed together.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is that a long-term placement?
Yes, our ultimate goal is the Fletcher dad is willing to take the Bennett child to keep the siblings together. So we'd like to reunify the Fletcher child with the Fletcher dad, and then the Bennett child would go with her. And then if that doesn't work, the kinship home in Lubbock is willing to keep the Bennett child long-term as like our plan B.
As in even adoption?
Yes, ma'am.
And do they have a relationship with Mr. Fletcher?
Yes, ma'am. They're a really good support. They're the ones that found the rehab that he's in Lubbock.
Okay. I think you all defined them as fictive kin. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the relationship there?
So the placement is Ariana's aunt, but Ariana's mother was adopted by them. So it's not blood relation.
Okay. So maternal aunt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Turman, I'll allow you to go ahead and make your argument. Mr. Eldridge, I think, has pretty much already done that. And then I'll take Mr. Nowak's recommendation.
Thank you, Judge. Let's make sure I wasn't muted. Judge, first off, I just want to acknowledge that Mr. Bennett, I think, very clearly loved his child, and that was largely, I think, his decision in executing this affidavit of relinquishment last week. He wants to see her have a stable, happy, healthy home. I do also want to note that, you know, despite his cognitive limitations, Mr. Bennett did work quite a few services. He checked most of the boxes, but struggled with, you know, finding stable employment, stable housing, just some of the life things that he needed to get. I believe he worked circles around Ms. Galloway in trying to complete these services. I do not believe he would see Ms. Galloway as being a stable, healthy provider in any way, shape, or form for this child. Moreover, Ms. Galloway, I mean, she's utterly failed, and even in this hearing, I didn't hear her take responsibility for one single failure in the myriad of failures, the dozens and dozens of failures to do what she was supposed to do in all these last months. So I suppose in a matter of equity, it bothers me if she is to remain in this child's life when Mr. Bennett did the responsible thing for his child. But more to the point, you know, and I don't know that there's legal consideration for what was going through his mind, but I do know that Mr. Bennett just wanted to see permanent, happy, healthy place for his kiddo. And based on Ms. Galloway's testimony today, that's just not there.
All right, thank you, sir. Do you also
Thanks.
rest?
Yes, rest of close.
Okay, Mr. Eldridge, do you rest?
The only thing, Your Honor, we're not asking for placement with my client. We're just asking that she not be terminated. So other than that,
I understand. Okay, all right. So do you rest?
yes, I rest and close.
All right, Mr. Novak, I'll take the recommendation.
Thank you so much, Judge. First of all, I certainly wish Ms. Galloway sobriety. That's important in everyone's life. I've listened to the testimony today, and she's taken zero responsibility. You know, when Pandora was 18 months old, Ms. Galloway chose to use meth again. Pandora shouldn't be made to wait any longer. The ad litem's recommendation is that Ms. Galloway's rights be terminated. Thank you, Judge.
All right, and do you also rest and close?
Rest and close, Judge. Thank you.
All right, then, at this time, I find by clear and convincing evidence that it is in the best interest of the child to terminate the parental rights between the child and her father, Derek Bennett, based on his voluntary affidavit of relinquishment of parental rights under Texas Family Code, Section 161.001, subsection B1K, and the best interest of the child under 161.001, subsection B2. I likewise find by clear and convincing evidence it is in the best interest of the child to terminate the parental rights between the child and her mother, Ariana Galloway, based on Texas Family Code 161.001, subsection B1, the N and the O grounds, and best interest under 161.001 B2. I will name the Department of Family and Protective Services as the permanent managing conservator of the child. And at this time, I'll dismiss all court-appointed attorneys after the de novo and appellate timeframes expire, with the exception of Ms. Zavala, who will remain as the child's attorney and guardian ad litem. Counsel, as always, be mindful that your de novo does begin to run since I've rendered an open court. And please do not file a notice of appeal until the final order has been signed and adopted by the referring court. Ms. Galloway, I know this is incredibly difficult, and I really do hope that you will make good use of the next 6 months that you have in your other case. I hope you will make good use of that concerning the new baby. I would just reiterate, I think you should give serious thought to going to either inpatient drug treatment or intensive outpatient treatment. You know, you've unfortunately been kind of going through a revolving door about drug use, and you know, I cautioned you at the very beginning of the case that you could work all the services in the world, but if you can't stay clean and you can't stay away from drugs, I can't send kids home to that. And that doesn't change. So you do still have one other case out there with me, and I'm going to just admonish you again. If you can't stay clean, I can't send children back to a home where there's active drug use, especially methamphetamine use. It's just a disaster, and these are very young children, and you know, it just can't work, and it doesn't work. So I wish you the best of luck in moving forward with that case, and also with the new baby. And so, counsel, appreciate your time today, And for those of you that will still be involved, the first review hearing will be August 22nd of 2024, and that'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. So Mr. Novak, obviously that'll be Ms. Zavala. I appreciate you filling in today. Mr. Eldridge, Mr. Kerman, that won't involve you. But all right, thank you all so very much.
Judge.
Your Honor, I'm still on the other
Thanks,
case.
everybody.
Judge, permission to leave?
Yes, sir. Thank you. That will conclude our docket.
Thanks, Judge.
So Your Honor, I'm still the attorney on the other case. I'm released from this case, but not the other case.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Make sure. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're still on that. Okay.